to mind when you see a well cared for garden? We often think of beauty and a sense of home. An outdoor garden can provide us with a pretty living space or even just a cheerful little project that you can create at home with your own two hands. Most of us have probably wanted a garden before or have maybe even attempted our own green thumbs at the task. However, in Texas's harsh weather conditions, this can often be a very futile attempt without the aid of an expensive lawn service, and it can be costly to replace plants year after year if you do not choose appropriate plants for your garden's conditions. I have been gardening for about 8 years and have made several different types of gardens, including flower bed gardens, container gardens, and vegetable gardens. And today I will be showing you how to create a simple and inexpensive flower bed garden full of heat and drought-tolerant plants that will thrive here in Texas. First, we need to discuss the materials that you need to create your garden. You will need to purchase some type of soil, whether garden or potting, depending on your project. I'll be using garden soil as I'm planting my plants directly into my front yard flower bed. You will also need to purchase some type of mulch, and then you will need a shovel and gloves, although that is optional as I tend not to use gloves. The other thing you will need to purchase are your plants, but first you will need to assess your garden's needs. For instance, how much sunlight does your garden get? Mine happens to get 7 hours of direct sunlight every day. And you will also need to think about what type of soil you have already in your garden. Most Texas soil tends to be clay-like, which is difficult to dig in, so I would suggest purchasing a little extra garden soil to help build up your garden to a nice fluffy area to plant in, and it definitely will make your digging easier. And then the last thing we need to talk about are heat and drought-tolerant plants. In Texas, we are often on water restrictions and we deal with a lot of harsh sunlight, and you need to choose plants that will work well under these conditions. Some of the varieties that I have in my garden are the forsythia bush, tends to work very well. I also have a couple of varieties of petunias. They are beautiful and can survive on very little water. And then lastly, over here, I have a lantana bush, which will also tend to take over your garden with maybe being watered only once a week. So these are all really good choices. The one we're going to be planting today is called the Mexican petunia, and it's also a great choice because it blooms from April all the way through December, so it's a nice pretty plant to have in your garden all year long. Once you have your materials, you need to prepare your flower bed. In order to prepare your bed, you will need to remove any weeds or leaves from the area, and you will also need to take your shovel and loosen the soil in order to mix in the soil that you already have, plus the newly purchased garden soil. Once you have prepared your flower bed, you need to remove your plant from its container. And actually, prior to doing that, you need to dig your hole. And you need to dig it a little bit deeper than the plant itself and several inches wider. This ensures that you have enough space to backfill around your plant. So you will have your hole dug, and then you'll remove the plant from its container and put it into the hole. And now you will simply backfill the soil in around your plant. This ensures that your plant has adequate nutritious soil around it and also provides for a good irrigation system for your plant. That way it doesn't get waterlogged. Once you have planted your plant, you can fill in the top area with mulch, and this helps to keep out weeds. It helps with water control, retaining water in the plant, and it also is just a little bit more aesthetically pleasing than plain topsoil. And the last thing you will need to do is simply give your garden a good watering. We're going to water it right now, and it's actually evening time, but the ideal time to water your garden subsequently would be early in the morning to retain as much water as possible and to avoid water evaporation. Okay, so while he's giving our garden a good water, let's just recap what we learned today about our Texas gardens. We discussed choosing appropriate plants that will work well under heat and extreme drought conditions. We discussed the very simple and inexpensive materials you will need, just about 5 materials, in order to plant your garden. And we planted our very first plant, which is called a Mexican petunia. I hope that you have enjoyed learning how to create a simple garden, and I hope that maybe you will attempt one in your future as well. Thank you.